All right, let's talk about something we've all been through. You pour your heart and soul into creating this amazing lesson plan, and then, in the room, it just falls flat. Crickets. Well, today, we're going to dive into a framework that's designed to stop that from ever happening again. It's called the Assure model, and trust me, it's a total game changer for anyone who teaches anything. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll figure out why lessons sometimes fizzle out in the first place. Then, we'll walk through every single step of the Assure model, from analyzing your learners all the way to evaluating your own success. This is going to be our roadmap to becoming way more confident and effective educators.
Okay, first things first. Let's get right to the heart of a problem that, let's be honest, every single one of us has dealt with at some point.
Oh, you know that feeling, right? You've prepped everything, you're genuinely excited about the material, but then you look up and all you see are these blank stares. Total silence. It is so frustrating. But here's the thing, it's also incredibly common.
Look, these frustrations don't mean you're a bad teacher. Not at all. They're usually just a sign that something in the process is a little off. You know, without a really clear framework, it's super easy to pick materials that don't quite fit the audience, or finish a lesson and realize the main point never actually landed.
But what if you had a blueprint, a reliable, repeatable process that guides you from that very first spark of an idea all the way to the final review, making sure every single piece is built on a rock-solid foundation? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. And that solution is the Assure model. It's a simple 6-step framework that acts as our guide. Analyze, state, select, utilize, require, and evaluate. Each letter is a deliberate step toward creating a learning experience that really, truly works. So let's break it down, step by step.
So, we kick things off with A for Analyze Learners. And this first step is absolutely crucial, because any great lesson doesn't start with the content, it starts with the audience. You have to know who you're actually talking to.
Just think about it with a simple example. Let's say you're teaching someone how to brew coffee. Are they a total beginner who's never touched a coffee bean, or are they a seasoned barista? The beginner? Well, they need the absolute basics, probably a simple visual guide. The barista? They might be looking for a new, complex technique. Knowing this before you even start planning changes absolutely everything.
Now let's move on to the 2 S's in the model, because they really go hand in hand. Once you know your audience, you've got to define exactly what success looks like, and then pick the perfect tools to get there.
I mean, look at the difference here. On the one hand, you have this vague goal, teach about coffee. Okay, but a specific, measurable objective like the one on the right, that gives you a crystal clear target. It tells you and the learner exactly what success is supposed to look like, and that is so powerful. And here's the magic. Because your objective is so clear, choosing your media and materials suddenly becomes super easy. If the goal is to help someone list 4 things, a short video or a simple infographic is perfect. A 30-page academic paper? No way. It's completely mismatched for that specific goal. The objective always drives the choice.
All right, so you know your audience, you have a clear objective, and you've picked out the perfect materials. Now it's time for you, utilize. This is all about making sure the delivery, the execution of the lesson, is just as strong as the plan itself.
Think of the 5 Ps as your pre-flight checklist. Did you actually watch the video to make sure it works? Is the projector set up? Have you prepped the learners by telling them what they're about to do and why it matters? Running through these steps helps you avoid all those little technical glitches and mental disconnects that can completely derail an otherwise great lesson.
Okay, next up is R, for Require Learner Participation. And honestly, this might be the most important step of the whole model, because here's the secret. Learning is not a passive activity. I absolutely love this quote. It's so true, right? You can't learn to swim by just watching videos of swimmers. You have to actually get in the water. And the same thing is true for any topic. We have to find ways to move our learners from just watching to actually doing. And you know what? It doesn't have to be some big, complicated thing. A simple activity like Think, Pair, Share is incredibly effective. In just a couple of minutes, you've sparked individual thought, you've gotten them talking to each other, and you've had them share with the whole group. Now, every single person in that room is engaged with the content on a much deeper level. And there are just so many ways to do this. You can use a quick poll, set aside time for some hands-on practice, or just open the floor for a good Q&A session. The whole goal is to break up the monologue and invite the learner to become part of the process. And finally, we get to E for Evaluate and Revise. How do we actually know if any of this worked?
And, maybe more importantly, how can we make it even better for next time?
This is where the whole model comes full circle. See how the evaluation method lines up perfectly with the objective we set way back at the beginning? If your goal was for them to list variables, a simple quiz makes sense. If your goal was for them to demonstrate a skill, then you gotta watch them do it. The evaluation is what proves whether or not the objective was actually met.
So, when you put it all together, the Assure model is so much more than just a checklist. It's really a shift in mindset. It moves you away from being someone who just presents information to someone who intentionally designs an experience where learning is pretty much guaranteed to happen. It gives you clarity, it drives engagement, and it makes you more effective. So, as you get ready to plan your next class, or your next training session, or even just the next time you're trying to teach a friend something new, think about this framework. Ask yourself, how are you going to use these steps to build a better blueprint and truly assure success? Thanks so much for joining me.